Welcome to another edition of the Trent Cruz Show. We're here with police accountability activist and artist Marilyn Hill. We also have our Green Party youth workers, Yasmin, Summer, and Najma here today, and they will be talking to Miss Hill about the work she's been doing. And I would let them take it from here.
Good afternoon, ladies and children, youth.
Good afternoon to you. Today we're interviewing Marilyn Hill, mother of Demetrius Hill, an 18-year-old who was shot by St. Paul police in 1997. Marilyn Hill and her family led a rally for her son, Demetrius Hill, 23 years after he was killed by St. Paul police. Mears Park on September 3rd, 2020, nearly 100 people gathered to demand to the statute of limitations and a renewed investigation into his death. So we would like you to introduce yourself to the viewers and maybe talk a little about your activism and what you've been up to.
Yes, my name is Marilyn Hill. I am an activist, also a member of Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence. I also a founder of the Demetrius Hill Resource Foundation, and I decided to create a Demetrius art legacy with art expedition for Demetrius Hill legacy because Demetrius also drew, and I am a good artist. My goal and my dreams is to bring children towards drawing because I believe it's a part of bringing out how children feel when they're dramatized. Also, when children are isolated in their own thoughts. Also, it helps a child rejuvenate their thoughts and help them change their attitude. When you draw, it gets into your spirit and it tells a story. Just like music, when my son plays music, Demetrius Hill loved music, and music tells a story. And when he sings and put lyrics together, he talked about his life. He also put words together about how the system of things regarding the police system and the things how the police was terrorizing the youth. I decided to come up with a press conference at the Mears Park and open up my story because 23 years ago, I was silenced. And when George Floyd was murdered, it brought something out, but also it made me feel that there's a lot of other murders and a lot of mothers that are hurting. So I decided to come out and start speaking because I was silenced. My family was silenced. People that is in my reports was silenced. And they are still silenced. It's time to open up and tell the truth. It's time for me to get people to really voice and be honest with their self about what truly happened. There's lies in my report. It's not my report. The media and what they put in the Demetrius report is not honestly the truth. And I'm seeking answers. My son's last words in one of some statements that's in my report when he was on that ground before he couldn't talk was asking that officer Victor that I showed at my event and I displayed his picture. Why? You didn't have to do this. He asked him laying on that ground, why did this happen? And the only thing that officer can say to him, you're going to be all right. What kind of words would you say to a young child, 18-year-old boy that you just put a big hole in, laid 6 holes in his body, and gonna sit there and say, you're gonna be all right, and point a gun at my father? The facts of the matter is, you shot my son, and you had no other words but tell him he'll be all right, and turn around and point a gun at my father, and that was his grandson, to tell him to go back in the house. Last April on the 28th is the day my son was killed. I gave a press conference to open up the doors for people to hear some reasons and why. There's so many answers that's unsolved. I believe that my son's case needs to be reinvestigated. I believe that if I can get enough people to come on my side and start getting his story out there, for people to start campaigning, petitioning some of these officers that's in my report, to start investigating them, especially the eyewitnesses that's in my report, because they are innocent people, and they said that they didn't write that report. They didn't write those statements. They did not speak on that type of statements that's in my report. So whoever wrote those statements and didn't get a signature, don't you think that should be, somebody needs to investigate that person?
Yeah. What do you think about the officers in this country continuously failing to realize that there's consequences to their actions?
I think it's sad. I believe that until they wake up and realize they are living in denial, they're going to realize one day karma's going to come on them. See, they're failing to realize it because they're living in, they're blind to see it. But every day they wake up and wondering why things are not going right in their own household. They're not happy. If they think they're living a happy life and everything's going good for them, I don't believe so. I just believe that sometimes, when we grow up as children, we have to be honest. And if we continue lying, we're punished. We can't continue lying because it's called punishment. And at one point, they're going to be punished. And that denial and what they're doing, justice. It's called justice. Justice will be served.
What does police reform look like to you?
That's a very, it's really messy at this point. We're fighting so hard to get the bill for police accountability on the table. We're fighting hard for statute of limitation, and they just tossed it out. We're fighting hard for a few bills to pass, which some of them have. But that police accountability and the public safety, they want to alternate some of the bill. They want to put money into the mental health part of the police reform, where I believe they should be adding some of those funds into some of the mothers for the stolen lives that was taken to help us. We need help. We need counseling. While they trying to reform reform the police department, they need to be funding us to help us re-heal and get through our healing just as well. It's all one-sided. They're not looking and focusing on the damage on our side that's been done. And I think that's not fair. When we voted some of these senators into the House, they agreed to help us, and they just completely just turned their back on us. Warren Limiter, he was all for the police accountability, the public safety, and now he switched it. Yes, he did put up all this money, millions for the schools. But where did this money really go to? Did it really go into the public safety bill, or did it go to way out to the rich neighborhoods?
So what does justice look like for Demetrius?
Justice looks like from Demetrius Hill, justice is served. That officer, Jerry Victor, 2000, 1997, when Gerald Victor shot my son, approximately 10 years later, in May, Victor was shot in the alley at Eric's Bar. I am not ashamed to say I gave it to the Lord, and might be the only black lady of color can say justice is served. See, karma comes back on you when you're wrong. See, Victor was guilty, and he was waving and walking around, souring in alcohol. And I'm sorry. I'm very sorry for him because he knew he was wrong. But justice, what it looked like for him was paying the cost for what he done, but trying to look like he was a hero. But in the long run, it came back on him because you ain't no hero when you shoot a person in the back and think you're getting away from it.
Was there any, do you want to clear up any misinformation that was spread about Demetrius?
Yes, I want to clear up a few information. One, I want to clarify one thing, and I want the world to know. When they closed my case, I never said my son had a gun. Number two, my son didn't carry no gun and didn't own no gun. Number three, that officer was out to kill my son because he was already harassing my son. My son was a type of boy that was trying to graduate. He was about to get married. He had just signed a contract for music. He had no reason to want to rob somebody when he lived in the same apartment building that his grandma and grandfather lived in. And he's associate to everybody that was in that apartment building. So all this information that they got out on him in that report and trying to label him, it was called unwrongful death. They killed the wrong innocent person. They killed the wrong innocent child. They killed my son by mistake, and they tried to cover it up using a gun and planted it on him. They shot my son in the back using an R-15. They blew a hole in him from his back and came out, leaving a big hole. I can imagine the force of that gun and the way it felt burning inside of his body. And my sister looked down on it. And my daughter seen her brother laying there with his eyes open, trying to guggle with the blood going into his lungs, slowly dying. That's called the officer. That's called that officer had it coming. Justice is what that officer got. But see, justice is not over, because the officer that written that report to cover up everything, he just is wrong, because it's called, when you swear in to duty, when as a police officer, you're supposed to be righteous, and he ain't right. He ain't right at all. He figured out some kind of way to lie. And you went back in that apartment building to question my father and my mother. The facts is they killed my mother and my father. My father died months later behind the accusations. That broke my daddy's heart. That's hard to live with. My whole family, it's hard for them to deal with that. The lie they just put on that about me, it's the lies they put on my son. I'm living with it, but I'm not accepting it. I'm working hard for justice. No matter what's going on with me today, God's gonna open these doors up for the truth.
What do you want people to know about Demetrius?
Demetrius was the most kind-hearted young man, very talented, got along with everybody. If you need something, he would give it to you. He worked. He worked at Western Elementary School, the elementary school that he went to when he was being bullied. He took on a cleaning job. His plans was to be married. The girl that he was engaged with, she had a boy. He even told me that that was his son when it wasn't. So I knew that he was a good child. He loved his dad, his grandpa, unconditionally. He had a relationship that was bonded. My daddy took it so hard. My son kept a side job. My son loved his sister and his brothers. His brother. He had two sisters and a brother. Let me get it right.
Yes, dealing with the death of a close family member and your son is very hard. So, how can people help you during these times?
There's people out here to pray. That's a touchy answer because I'm very independent. I know I need help. And it's hard for me to come out and just say what kind of help I need. I do need help. I need someone to reach out to my baby boy. My kids is traumatized and affected by what happened to Demetrius. And I don't want to see mothers that's traumatized and their kids are too. As far as help with me, please. I need all the protection I can get because I know these police they're gonna try their best to mess with me. They're gonna try their best to mess with my kids. They're gonna try their best to stop what I'm trying to do.
As we are closing up, we all hope everyone listening learned a little bit about Demetrius' sad and tragic story. We wish Marilyn the best of everything, and we hope you heal as time goes by. We're wishing a quick and good recovery for you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wanna move. I wanna relocate. I wanna change my phone number. I just need a new way of just doing things right now because in the last couple of years I've been taunted. You know, it's very, and they messing with my children. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon, on this Friday afternoon, and for speaking with the Green Party Youth Interns. Glad you're out of the hospital, and we're wishing you a speedy recovery so you can get back out here and continue to do this work you've been doing.
Thank you.
We wish we're going to have you back soon, too, and I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it. It was emotional for me. I know that I just got out the hospital, so sometimes when you talk about my Demetrius, it gets really deep when it comes to my loved ones.
No doubt. No problem. Thank you. And we look forward to having you back on the show soon.
All right.
Peace.
Appreciate it. I
God bless
appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
We appreciate you too.
All right. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye bye.